Hey everybody, it's me Stacy here at Scrapbooking Made Simple with another YouTube demo for you today. We've got lots in store today. We are going to be working with die cuts with a view and their matte stacks, both adhesive and non-adhesive, and I'll show you the difference. We're going to be working with Spellbinders and Sizzix and Tim Holtz embossing folders, some paper flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to tilt on down and we're going to get started for today. Okay? Down we go. Bye. Okay, how's that? That look pretty good to you? I think that looks okay to me. All right, so what do we have for you today? To begin with, we've got die cuts with a view matte stacks, and these come in lots of different sizes, and they come adhesive and non-adhesive, and I'm going to show you both today. Now, I really like these stacks when you're working with die cutting. One of the main reasons is because of the sizing, they fit your dies beautifully. You're not using a lot of waste. And on the adhesive stack, once you're done die cutting, it's a sticker. It's ready to go down onto your project or your card or your page. I love that they come in a host of different colors. This is the bright stack, but there's also the neutral stack, and then there's the non-adhesive stacks, and they've got lots of those in different patterned papers. And here's a non-adhesive stack. This is the luxury collection, and I'll show you some samples we did with that, but the paper is just absolutely yummy. Now, we've got our Spellbinders dies that we're going to be working with. This is the teacup set, and I have got my Framelit die here, which is a Sizzix die, and we all know about Framelits. For those of you who aren't familiar, real quick, with a wafer type die, which is what Spellbinders and Sizzix Framelits are. Quickly, they are a chemically etched thin die. Do you see how wafer thin that is? That's why the name is wafer die. And the cutting edge is right on the inside edge on the Framelits. For the Spellbinder, it's dead center in between the two edges of the die. And so there is no blade on this. It's just a cutting edge. So as you can see, I'm running my finger over it and I'm not being cut. So they're really also very handy for kids. They can't get hurt with them. So we're going to be working with the matte stacks. We're going to be working with the dies. We're going to be playing with some Tim Holtz stuff. So away we go. Now, as I was saying with the matte stacks, I really like the small matte stacks. They actually come in a few different sizes. This I think is like a 3x3, 3.5 by 3.5. This one's a little bit bigger. And then we have the borders. Now these are wonderful if you're using the Sizzix Sizzlet border strips because they fit perfectly. And like I said, these are adhesive right there. So on the back of each is the backing that you would peel off to expose the sticker sheet. And when you're die cutting, I mean, that makes it so easy. If you are die cutting letters with any die, if you're using your quick cuts or your lifestyle crafts or your Sizzix and you're doing the letters, oh my gosh, we all know that how difficult it can be sometimes to put glue on those and then glue them down. With the die cuts with a view stacks, the adhesive stacks, it's already done for you. The glue's already there. You're going to cut and then you're just going to stick them on down. And this is the neutrals palette. So they have neutrals and they have brights in a whole bunch of different sizes. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut with one. And let me tell you also that they are white core. So I'm going to show you what white core means. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut with one. And I am going to cut my teacup from my Spellbinders. So what am I going to do? I'm going to bring over my Big Shot machine because, of course, the Sizzix Big Shot machine is our die cutting machine of choice here at Scrapbooking Made Simple. And I've got my multi-purpose platform that comes with each machine. And right on the top, it shows a wafer die. So when you're using your multi-purpose platform, you of course are going to keep the platform completely closed. You're not going to open to any of the other tabs. You're going to make your sandwich, your die cutting sandwich, using the entire platform. So I'm going to take my cutting plate, and as you can see, I have put do not cut on this plate, which means I want to use this as my bottom plate forever. I want to keep it nice and I want to keep it clean versus a cutting plate, which is what the die cuts into. Can you see how that's got all the die cut marks into it? The die needs to cut into something as it's going through the paper, and this plate is what that's for. So I want to keep one nice and flat and clean because it gives me a nice work surface every single time, and then one plate to cut into. Now this plate you will have to eventually replace. They're $9, I think, for 2 plates from Sizzix. And also a question that we get a lot. When you're sending your dies through your machine, if you hear a crackling sound, that's okay. That's just the die cutting into the plate. That's not a problem. So I am going to take my wafer die right here. I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to put my paper on top. Now I have got a piece of the adhesive paper. So the adhesive is on the back. That means I'm going to take the colored side and put it against the side of the die that has the cutting blade. If I was to put it against the flat side, see how there's no cutting edge? Put it down and put my paper against it and roll it through, it would do nothing. It wouldn't cut anything. So you need to use the die with that cutting edge face up, and I'm going to put my paper with the color side against that cutting edge. Take my other clear plate, so I've got my sandwich. And see how you have very little waste? They're just perfect. It's when you're die cutting and you need a quick piece of paper, this is the way to go. I'm gonna put it in my machine and I'm going to send it on through. Did you hear that cracking? That's okay. Now, we do have a lot of questions about embossing the Spellbinders, so I'm going to do that next, and I'm going to show you how to do that so that it's easy and simple. Spellbinders is kind enough to give you on the inside of your label here, they're kind enough to give you instructions with different machines. However, they recommend that you use the Spellbinders mats to do the embossing. And I'm going to tell you, if you're using a Sizzix Big Shot machine, you really should use the Sizzix mats. They work much better. You don't need 2 of them, and I like them far better. So, to do an embossing with a Spellbinder die, I have now cut my die. I'm going to sit it down, and I'm going to open my multi-purpose platform to tab 1. Tab 1, and then I'm going to put my die back on. So I have lifted off tab 2 and I've now exposed tab 1. The important thing here is that you use a silicone mat by Sizzix. This is really important, and do you see how I'm scrunching that up? Okay, that silicone mat, very, very important. I'm going to put that down over the top of my die. And then I'm going to use an impression pad. Now, hear that? It sounds different than the crease pad. A lot of people get them confused. The impression pad does not bend. It is completely rigid. And that's what it sounds like. You don't want to use a crease pad to do this. We've been using the crease pad with the Sizzix Flip It dies. That's not an impression pad. The silicone pad and the impression pad sell for $6 each, and everybody should have them in their arsenal. All right, I'm going to put that impression pad over the top of the silicone. Now, I am not going to put another clear plate. That impression pad takes the place of this clear plate, so you don't need this. And then I'm going to send it through. And I don't know if you can see this, I'm trying. This silicone pad, the gushy one that I showed you, if you're doing it right, that silicone pad is gonna expand out the back of your machine. It's gonna grow because it's taking the force of the rollers and it's pushing that paper into that die to get you an embossing. So let's see what we've got. Okay, I have die cut and I have embossed it. I hope you can see that little embossing. Now the pressure actually pushed the adhesive also. Okay, so what I'm going to do now to help bring that adhesive up is I am going to take my Sand It gadget, by Coordinations. It's the best sanding block we've ever had. I'm going to just move this out of my way real quick. And I'm going to sand just a little bit of the paper off to show you that it's a white core paper. See how it's white core? Very easy to do. And the best part is the adhesive pulls right off. And I have now made a sticker. I can just stick that right on to a card. And I have now made a sticker. Isn't that great? Love it. And the nice thing also is that it gives you time to move it around and adjust it. And those are the stacks by Die Cuts with a View. And again, I showed you the different sizes. And for die cutting, they're perfect because you get a lot of colors in a little stack that's adhesive, easy for you to travel with, and when you just need a little piece of something, a little piece of black or a little piece of brown, this is really the way to go. Okay, now I'm going to show you how we would die cut. Let's bring it on back and let's get a dress form real quick. We'll use the plain dress form here by Sizzix, by Spellbinders. And we'll take a piece of our adhesive paper. And what I want to do is show you how you would use the embossing folders with the white core paper. So our multi-purpose platform. Right here. And again, it's a wafer die. So I'm going to use the multi-purpose platform completely closed. I'm going to put down my first cutting plate that says do not cut on it. Put it into the machine. Again, because it's adhesive, I'm going to put the die against the colored paper. Put it in. And away we go. Hear that cracking? That's okay. This time I'm not going to use the embossing feature on the die. I'm going to use a Holtz embossing folder, and these are borders. They come with the Holtz Valentine's set, so I've got these borders here that I've pulled out that I'm using because I want to use them on the dress form. They're really cute. So I'm going to take my dress form out, pop it out of the die. There we go, and again, it's adhesive backed. And this time, I am going to put it inside one of my borders. And I'm just going to do the bottom of the dress, right at the waistline. So I've sandwiched my dress in my folder there. And to do an embossing, I need to open my multi-purpose platform, back up to tab 1, and I need to make my sandwich. So I've got my do not cut plate, I've got my die inside my embossing folder, and I have got my other clear top plate. And I'm going to send it on through. Just that simple. Let's go ahead and move that right out of the way. And now I'm going to take my Sand It gadget and just sand a little bit of the dress to bring the embossing up. And then because it's adhesive, all I have to do is peel my back and I'm ready to stick it down. So simple. The matte stacks make it really, really easy for you. And I have to tell you, these matte stacks have been around forever, but people forget about them. I forget about them, but the adhesive part on them is simply wonderful. Now, I did mention that they do make matte stacks that are non-adhesive, and Die Cuts with a View does. They have fabulous matte stacks. See, I've got the luxury stack, and we've got the shimmer stack. And I will tell you, we've used these quite extensively. They look fabulous with the teacups. Let me show you a couple examples that we did with the luxury stack and the teacup. Isn't that the cutest card? And this one I absolutely love. Look at that teacup card. And that's using this luxury stack and the shimmer stack. Now those are not self-adhesive. You do have to glue them down, but the papers are just perfect for those dies, the teacups. We also used the matte stacks, the adhesive matte stacks, when we did some of the cards with the dress forms. Super cute, huh? Let's see, there we go. Really cute. Now I wanted to show you on the Framelit die. People have asked. The Framelit die does not have an embossing feature. What it does have is a cut what you see feature versus the Spellbinder die. The Spellbinder die does have an embossing feature. The Spellbinder die has that cutting edge in between the two edges of the die, which means that it will give you a slight embossing feature like I did with the teacup, right, because you've got that extra lip, that extra edge. The Framelit die, however, does not. What it does give you is an exact cut what you see. So when you lay it down on your paper, what you see is exactly what you cut. You don't have that necessarily with your Spellbinder die. Now we use the Framelit die, this oval die, with the teacup. The teacup die does not come with a saucer. And we had to figure out how to make a saucer. Let me show the teacup die one more time. Teacup set, darling, but no saucer. So we took one of the Framelit dies by Sizzix here and cut ourselves a saucer with this card. Really cute. Just took a Framelit, cut it with the Die Cuts with a View paper, the self-adhesive paper, laid it behind, put the teacup right on top of it to create a saucer. And this gold going around it, these are Elizabeth Craft Designs, her lines, the peel-off lines. And you should know the lines are thin enough that they will actually make curves. You can curve them. Okay? Last thing I want to show you is flowers. Really quickly. We did this as a make and take in our store, and we used the matte stack from Die Cuts with a View, and we've got some doilies, and we've got the Sizzix Framelit die behind it. But the flowers, we get a lot of questions about flowers. So I wanted to show you, these are the Scrapbooking Made Simple flowers, and these are paper flowers, and this is how they come, 6 to a pack, and they're $1.99. When you pull them out, that's kind of what they look like. And everybody's like, yeah, I don't know if I could use that. Well, these are paper flowers, and they're meant to be played with, and they're meant to be opened. And because they're paper, you can take your fingers and you can roll the petals to get the effect that you're looking for. They're very easy to use. When you're all done, that's what you're able to achieve from this. Now you can also grunge them up. If you wanted this to be more grungy, you can open it and play with it and then squish and grunge up. You're going to roll the leaves a little bit, roll the petals, and then you're going to grunge it up. And smoosh and grunge, and we actually really grunged this one. That started as this, and to do this, we just pulled off We pulled off excess petals that we weren't going to be using, pulled off the leaves. And then really, really grunged it down and smushed it down to give us a really cool tattered flower on top of that card. But paper flowers are very easy to use. I know Prima makes absolutely beautiful flowers, but you can get a very similar look for a lot less money. And again, we sell these in 6-packs, just like this. We have, oh, I don't know, 8 or 9 colors of them, and they're $1.99. There's the fuchsia. So when they come out like this, that's not necessarily how they're supposed to stay unless you want it to look like this. You can absolutely open them up and make them beautiful, or you can grunge them down. It's entirely up to you what you want to do with your paper flowers. So, what did we learn today? We learned that die cuts with a view makes amazing matte stacks, and the adhesive is what you're looking for. If you want to make sure that it makes a sticker, the adhesive is what you're looking for. We know that they are the matte stacks are white core, so you can sand them, you can emboss them, and then you can sand them, and that it's ready to go to put down right onto your card or your page or your project, and that you do have time to move it around. Once it's down, you do have time to move it around and decide where you want it. Once it's stuck, you're not set. You've got some time to play with it. They come in 3 different sizes. The 4x6, I think that is. The long ones, which if you're doing letters, if you're die cutting letters, oh boy, you're gonna love having that. And they come in the little 3x3 packs. And they come in brights and they come in neutral colors, and you have a lot of variety in color there, so that when you just need a little piece or you're doing something small, this is a great opportunity for you. We also learned that they make some beautiful stacks that are not adhesive. They've got the luxury stack, which we used a lot for the teacups and the dress forms. Very, very pretty. And then we learned that the dies, a lot of questions about this, the dies with the Spellbinders and the Framelits are different. Framelits, see what you cut. You don't have to worry about lining up and being centered, because if you see it, you cut it. But no embossing feature. Spellbinders has an embossing feature, but you don't necessarily see what you cut. So sometimes you may cut off the page. You may not have enough paper. You think you do because you're looking through the die and you see the paper through the die, but it could be slightly shorter than where the cutting edge is. So sometimes that can be a problem. But those are the difference between the 2 dies. We've got our paper flowers here, which are very simple to use. Don't be afraid of paper flowers. You don't always have to buy a flower that's already done. You can certainly buy the more inexpensive flowers and make them what you want. I could absolutely put some glue gloss over the top of this, a little bit of glue, sprinkle some glitter, put a pearl in the middle, and you've made yourself an amazing flower. Okay, I'm going to show you a few more samples. So we saw the teacup, and we saw the dress form. Another dress form, again using the die cuts with a view paper, self-adhesive. And there we go. All right, guys, I hope that you had a good time with me today. I am Stacy at Scrapbooking Made Simple, and where are you going to buy all this stuff? You're going to get it at scrapbooking-made-simple.com, and of course we'll have them on a YouTube Yummy, so we will have the Tim Holtz embossing folder on sale, and we will have the matte stacks on sale, all at 15% off. For 1 week after the original load date of this YouTube. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you learned something and have a great day, okay? Bye.